If you're a parent watching this right now, I need you to stop and really listen to what I'm about to tell you, because this story could save your relationship with your child. How well do you really know your kid? Not the surface stuff, what they wear, who their friends are, what shows they watch. I mean the deep stuff. What keeps them up at night, what they're afraid of, what they're hiding from you right now, at this very moment. You think you know. You think you see everything. You think because you live in the same house and share the same last name that you understand what's happening in their world. But what if you're completely wrong? What if the thing that's driving you crazy about your teenager, the thing that makes you want to scream and take away their phone and ground them for a month, what if that thing is actually them trying to save you? My name is Lisa Crawford. I'm 45 years old. I'm a single mother to one child, my 17-year-old son, Jake. And for 8 months, I thought my son was throwing his life away on video games. I thought he'd given up on his future. I thought he was escaping into a virtual world because the real world, my cancer diagnosis, our financial struggles, our uncertain future, was too much for him to handle. I was wrong about everything because Jake wasn't gaming. He was working 3 separate jobs, 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, earning money to pay my medical bills without telling me. While I was lying awake at night worrying that I was losing him to some online addiction, he was lying awake trying to figure out how to keep me alive. This is the story of how I almost destroyed my relationship with my son because I couldn't see past my own assumptions. This is the story of a 17-year-old boy who sacrificed his childhood to save his mother's life. This is the story of what happens when parents stop listening and children stop talking. And if you have a teenager in your house right now who seems distant, distracted, or obsessed with something you don't understand, please, please hear this story before you make the same mistakes I did. Because I came this close to losing the most important person in my life. And I almost did it while trying to save him from something he wasn't even doing. Let me take you back to the day everything started falling apart. The day I got the diagnosis that would change both of our lives forever. Chapter 1. The Diagnosis. I found the lump on a Tuesday morning in February. I was in the shower doing the monthly self-exam my doctor had been nagging me about for years. The one I usually skipped because I was too busy, too tired, too convinced it would never be me. But that morning, my fingers found something. Small. Hard. Wrong. I stood in the shower with water running over me, my hand frozen on that spot, thinking, this isn't real. This is nothing. This will go away. It didn't go away. 3 days later, I was sitting in Dr. Patel's office listening to words that didn't seem real. Breast cancer, stage 2B, invasive ductal carcinoma. We need to start treatment immediately. I heard her voice like it was coming from underwater. I saw her mouth moving, but my brain couldn't process the words into meaning. Cancer. I had cancer. The good news, Dr. Patel was saying, is that we caught it relatively early, with aggressive treatment, chemotherapy, possible radiation, and likely a mastectomy. Your prognosis is actually quite good. We're looking at an 85% 5-year survival rate. 85%? That sounded good, right? That sounded like winning odds. Except it also meant there was a 15% chance I'd be dead in 5 years. A 15% chance my son would be an orphan at 22. Miss Crawford, do you have any questions? I had a million questions, but the only one that came out was, how much is this going to cost? Dr. Patel's expression shifted slightly. That particular look doctors get when you've asked the question they were hoping you wouldn't. Let's focus on treatment first. We can discuss payment options. How much? She pulled out a sheet of paper, started talking about numbers that made my head spin. Chemotherapy sessions, scans, medications, surgery, follow-up care. Even with my insurance, the bare bones plan I'd gotten through my job as an administrative assistant at a dental office, I was looking at somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 in out-of-pocket costs over the next year. $40,000 to $60,000. I made $38,000 a year before taxes. I had $1,700 in my savings account. We do have financial assistance programs, Dr. Patel said gently, and payment plans. We'll work with you. Thank you, I said, standing up. I need to think about this. Miss Crawford, you don't have time to wait. We need to start treatment within the next 2 weeks. I understand. I'll call you tomorrow. I walked out of that office and sat in my car in the parking lot for 45 minutes, just staring at nothing. How was I supposed to tell Jake? My son was 17 years old, a junior in high school. He had college applications coming up next year. He had SATs to take. He had a whole life ahead of him. And now his mother had cancer. I drove home in a daze, trying to figure out how to say the words, trying to figure out how to break his heart. Jake was in the living room when I got home, doing homework at the kitchen table. He looked up when I walked in. Hey, Mom, how was your doctor's appointment? I'd told him I was getting a routine checkup, nothing to worry about. Jake, honey, we need to talk. The way I said it made him put down his pencil, made his face go serious. What's wrong? I sat down across from him and took his hand. I got some news today, some bad news. I've been diagnosed with breast cancer. I watched his face go through about 15 different emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, fear, denial, anger, sadness. What? His voice cracked. What do you mean cancer? Like serious cancer? Yeah, baby, serious cancer, but it's treatable. The doctor says with chemotherapy and surgery, I have a really good chance of beating this. How good? 85%. He did the math in his head. His face went pale. That's not 100%. No, it's not, but it's pretty damn good odds. When do you start treatment? Soon, within the next couple weeks. We sat there in silence for a moment. I could see Jake processing, trying to be strong, trying to figure out what to say. We're going to be okay, I told him. I'm going to fight this, and we're going to be okay. He nodded, but I could see tears forming in his eyes. Can I hug you? He asked. Of course. He came around the table and wrapped his arms around me, and we just sat there holding each other while my 17-year-old son tried not to cry and I tried not to fall apart completely. That night, after Jake went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with a calculator and a pile of medical bills and insurance statements, trying to figure out how I was going to pay for treatment. My insurance covered 60% of most procedures, which meant I was responsible for 40%. 40% of $200,000 in projected treatment costs was $80,000. I had $1,700. I could take out a loan. I could get a second job. I could... What? There was no amount of budgeting or side hustling that was going to come up with $80,000 in a year. I could sell my car. It was paid off and worth maybe $8,000. But then how would I get to chemotherapy appointments? How would Jake get to school? I could take out a loan against my tiny retirement account. I had maybe $12,000 in there. That would help, but it wouldn't be enough. I could ask my sister for help, but she had 3 kids of her own and barely made ends meet as it was. I was out of options before I'd even started. The next morning, I called Dr. Patel's office and scheduled my first chemotherapy session. Whatever it cost, I'd figure it out, because the alternative was dying and leaving Jake alone. And that wasn't an option. Chapter 2. The First Changes. Chemotherapy started 2 weeks later. They don't tell you in the movies how absolutely terrible it is. They show you someone with a bald head looking brave and determined. They don't show you the nausea so intense you can't stand up, the exhaustion so complete you can barely lift your head off the pillow, the metallic taste in your mouth that makes everything taste like poison. They don't show you having to call your boss and explain that you can't come to work today because you've been vomiting for 6 hours straight and can barely walk to the bathroom. They don't show you watching your 17-year-old son try to cook dinner when you're too weak to stand, burning the pasta because he's never had to do this before, apologizing with tears in his eyes because he messed it up. The first month was brutal. I had chemotherapy every other Tuesday. The day of treatment, I'd feel okay, nervous, but okay. The day after treatment, I'd feel like I'd been hit by a truck. Days 3 through 7 were survival mode. Days 8 through 12, I'd start to feel almost human again. Then, day 14, back to chemotherapy. Every other week. 6 cycles, 12 weeks total. I lost my hair after the second treatment. I cried in the shower as it came out in clumps. Jake came home and found me on the bathroom floor, sobbing, covered in my own hair. He didn't say anything. He just got the scissors and helped me shave off what was left. "You look like a badass," he said when we were done. "I look sick. You look like you're fighting a war and you're winning." I loved him so much in that moment I couldn't even speak. The medical bills started arriving in late March. First chemotherapy session, $22,000. Insurance paid $13,200. I owed $8,800. First round of scans, $6,000. Insurance paid $3,600. I owed $2,400. Oncology consultations, $1,800. Insurance paid $1,080. I owed $720. Medications, $4,500 per month. Insurance paid $2,700. I owed $1,800. By the end of month 1, I owed $13,720. I had $1,700. I called the hospital's billing department and set up a payment plan. They wanted $500 per month. I made $2,200 per month after taxes. Our rent was $1,100, utilities were $200, food was $300, gas was $150. That left me $450 per month for everything else: Jake's school expenses, car insurance, phone bills, clothes, unexpected costs. There was no room for $500 monthly medical payments, but I agreed to it anyway because what choice did I have? I started picking up extra shifts at work when I could. My boss was understanding about my treatment schedule, but I could tell it was getting old. I was unreliable now. I called out sick a lot. I couldn't work the day after chemotherapy. I was becoming a liability. In late April, my boss pulled me aside. "Lisa, I need to talk to you about your hours." My stomach dropped. "We're going to have to cut you back to 25 hours a week. I'm sorry, but with all the sick days and the unpredictability of your schedule, I can't keep you at full time." 25 hours a week. That would cut my income by nearly 40%. "Please," I heard myself say, "I need this job. I need the hours. I have medical bills." "I know. I'm sorry, but I have a business to run." So now I was sick, broke, and working part-time. I didn't tell Jake about the money problems. He had enough to worry about with my cancer. He didn't need to know that we were drowning financially on top of everything else. But I started making changes he couldn't help but notice. I stopped buying name-brand groceries. Everything became generic or store-brand. I turned the thermostat down in the evenings. "We don't need it that warm, we can just wear sweaters." I suggested Jake pack lunches instead of buying food at school. It's healthier anyway. I canceled our Netflix and Hulu subscriptions. We don't watch them enough to justify the cost. Jake noticed. Of course he noticed, but he didn't say anything. Chapter 3. The Isolation Begins. It was in early May, about 3 months into my treatment, that I first noticed Jake changing. He'd always been a social kid, not super popular, but he had a solid group of friends. He played soccer, he went to movies and hung out at the mall, and did all the normal teenage stuff. But suddenly, he wasn't. Jake, Marcus called earlier. He wanted to know if you wanted to go to the movies this weekend. Tell him I'm busy. Doing what? Just stuff. Homework. It's Friday night. You can do homework on Sunday. I have a lot of homework. This became a pattern. Friends would call or text, and Jake would always have an excuse. He stopped going to soccer practice, he stopped going to parties, he stopped leaving the house except for school. And when he was home, he was in his room, door closed, headphones on. At first, I thought maybe he was depressed. That made sense. His mother has cancer, his whole world has been turned upside down. He's probably struggling emotionally. I tried to talk to him about it. Jake, honey, I'm worried about you. You're spending so much time alone in your room. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. You don't seem fine. You seem withdrawn. Are you feeling depressed? Because if you are, that's totally normal given everything that's happening. We could get you someone to talk to. I don't need a therapist. I'm fine. I'm just busy with school stuff. What school stuff? Your grades have been slipping. You got a C on your last math test. That's not like you. I'm doing the best I can, Mom. I know, baby, I know this is hard, but I'm worried you're giving up. I'm worried you're hiding in your room instead of dealing with your feelings. I'm not hiding, I'm just busy. Can we drop this? So, I dropped it. But I didn't stop worrying. By June, Jake's isolation had gotten worse. He wasn't just avoiding friends, he was avoiding me too. He'd come home from school, mumble a hello, and disappear into his room. He'd stay there until dinner, and half the time he'd skip dinner entirely. I'm not hungry. Jake, you need to eat. I'll eat later. I'm in the middle of something. What are you in the middle of? Just a project for school. But school was over. Summer break had started. When I'd try to knock on his door to talk to him, he'd yell through it, "I'm busy, Mom. Can we talk later?" Later never came. I started to panic. This wasn't normal teenage behavior. This was extreme isolation. This was depression. This was my son checking out of reality. And I blamed myself. My cancer had done this to him. My illness had broken him. Then I started hearing sounds through his door. Clicking, keyboard sounds, him talking, but not on the phone, talking to someone online. Dude, you're terrible at this game. Let me show you how it's done. No, place the turret here, not there. Are you even trying? Gaming. My son was gaming for hours, 6, 7, 8 hours a day during summer break. I'd peek through his door when he left to use the bathroom. I know, invasion of privacy, but I was desperate. And I'd see his computer screen filled with some game I didn't recognize. Colorful characters shooting at each other, explosions, points tallying up. I did what any concerned mother would do. I Googled teenage gaming addiction. The articles that came up were terrifying. Gaming addiction is a recognized mental health disorder. Signs your child is addicted to video games, isolation from friends and family, declining grades, spending 6+ hours daily gaming, irritability when unable to play. Gaming addiction can lead to depression, anxiety, and social dysfunction. Jake hit every single marker. I found parent forums full of desperate mothers and fathers talking about how gaming had destroyed their children's lives, kids dropping out of school, kids gaining hundreds of pounds from sitting and gaming all day, kids becoming violent when parents tried to take away their computers. I was terrified. My son was already dealing with trauma from my cancer diagnosis, and now he was coping by escaping into video games. He was developing an addiction. He was throwing his future away, and I didn't know how to stop it. I tried talking to him again in mid-June. Jake, we need to have a serious conversation about the amount of time you're spending gaming. I'm not gaming that much. You're in your room 6 hours a day. I can hear you playing. So what? It's summer break. What else am I supposed to do? You're supposed to see your friends. You're supposed to enjoy your summer. You're supposed to live your life, not waste it staring at a screen. I'm not wasting my life. You're 17 years old. These are the best years of your life, and you're throwing them away on video games. Mom, you don't understand. Then help me understand, because from where I'm sitting, you're addicted to gaming and it's destroying you. His face hardened. I'm not addicted. Jake, you exhibit all the signs. I'm fine. Can you please just leave me alone? No, I can't leave you alone. You're my son, and I'm watching you disappear into your room, and I'm terrified I'm losing you. You're not losing me. God, Mom, why can't you just trust me? Because you won't talk to me, because you're shutting me out, because every time I try to have a conversation with you, you slam the door in my face. Maybe because you only want to have conversations about how I'm screwing up my life. Did you ever think about that? He went back into his room and locked the door. I stood in the hallway crying, feeling like I'd failed as a mother. Chapter 4. The Breaking Point. July was the worst month. My chemotherapy treatments were ending, but the side effects were cumulative. I was exhausted all the time. My immune system was shot. I got a cold that lasted 3 weeks because my body couldn't fight it off. The medical bills kept coming. I now owed $42,000, and the hospital was threatening to send my account to collections if I didn't start making bigger payments. I was working 25 hours a week and barely making enough to cover rent and food. I'd stopped paying the water bill, stopped paying the electricity bill, stopped paying everything except rent because if we got evicted, we'd be homeless. I was drowning. And Jake was still in his room, gaming 6 hours a day. His grades for the spring semester came in the mail: 2 C's, 3 B's, and a D. Jake had never gotten a D in his life. I knocked on his door, waited for him to yell, "What?" "Can I come in?" "I'm busy." "Jake, I need to talk to you. Now." Silence. Then the sound of him shuffling to the door. He opened it halfway, standing in the doorway like he was blocking entry to a fortress. "What?" I held up the grade report. "Want to explain this?" He glanced at it. "I had a rough semester." "A rough semester, Jake? You got a D in English. English, that's your best subject." "I'll do better next year." "Will you? Because from what I can see, you're spending all your time gaming instead of preparing for your senior year. Do you understand what's at stake here? College applications are coming up, scholarships, your entire future." "I know." "Do you? Because it doesn't seem like you care." "I care." "Then prove it. Put down the video games and start acting like you give a damn about your future." His jaw clenched. "Is that all?" "Jake." "Because I have stuff to do." "Stuff like gaming?" "Yeah, stuff like gaming." And he closed the door. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling like the worst mother in the world. My son was spiraling. His grades were terrible. He had no friends anymore. He spent every waking moment gaming, and I couldn't reach him. Every article I'd read said the same thing: take away the computer, set boundaries, force him to re-engage with real life. But I was so tired. I was so sick. I was working and fighting cancer and trying to keep us fed and housed, and I didn't have the energy for a war with my teenage son. So I did nothing, and I hated myself for it. In early August, Jake's best friend Marcus showed up at our apartment. I answered the door. Marcus looked uncomfortable. "Hey, Miss Crawford, is Jake home?" "Come on in." Marcus hesitated. "Actually, I was hoping to talk to you first." "Oh, okay, sure." We sat in the living room. Marcus fidgeted with his hands. "Ms. Crawford, I'm really worried about Jake. Join the club. He won't talk to me anymore. He won't hang out. He won't even text me back. And I heard he quit the soccer team?" "He did." "Why? He loved soccer." "I don't know. He said he was too busy." "Busy with what? Gaming?" I nodded. Marcus shook his head. "It's weird. Jake was never really into games before, and now it's all he does. Some of the guys think he's like depressed or something because of, your cancer." Hearing a 17-year-old say it so bluntly hit me hard. "I think he might be," I admitted. "I've tried to get him to talk about it, but he won't. He just shuts down." "Have you thought about getting him therapy? Like a professional?" "We can't afford it." The words came out before I could stop them. Marcus looked embarrassed. "Right, sorry. I miss my friend and I'm worried about him." "Me too." After Marcus left, I made a decision. I was going to take away Jake's computer. I didn't want to. I knew it would cause a massive fight, but I couldn't watch him destroy his life anymore. He was 17 years old. He didn't get to make these kinds of destructive choices. That was my job as his mother, to protect him from himself, even if he hated me for it. Chapter 5. The Discovery. I waited until the next afternoon when Jake was in his room, deep in a gaming session. I knocked on his door. No answer. I knocked louder. "Jake, I need to talk to you." "I'm busy." "It's important." "Mom, I'm in the middle of something important. Can it wait?" "No, it can't." I tried the doorknob. Locked. "Jake, open this door right now." "Mom, seriously, give me 10 minutes. "Open this door now." Something in my voice must have scared him, because I heard him get up and unlock the door. But he didn't open it, he just unlocked it and went back to his desk. I opened the door and walked into his room. Jake was sitting at his computer, headphones on, staring intently at the screen. His hands were flying across the keyboard. "Jake, I need you to listen to me." "Mom, please, I'm in the middle of something important." "So am I. We need to talk about your gaming addiction." "I'm not addicted." "Yes, you are, and it's destroying your life. So I'm taking away your computer for the next 2 weeks. You need a break from gaming. You need to reconnect with real life." "No!" The force of his shout made me jump. "You can't take my computer. Mom, you don't understand. I understand that you're addicted to video games, and I'm done watching you throw your future away." "I'm not playing games." The desperation in his voice made me stop. "What?" "I'm not playing video games. I'm working." "Working? What are you talking about?" "I'm working. I have 3 jobs. I've been working for 8 months trying to help pay your medical bills because I know we can't afford them, and you're killing yourself trying to work while doing chemotherapy, and I'm just trying to help." The room went silent. I stared at him. He stared back at me, breathing hard, tears streaming down his face. "What?" I whispered. He turned his computer monitor toward me. On the screen was a graphic design project, a logo for some company. Not a game, a professional design program. "I do graphic design for small businesses," he said, his voice shaking. "I code websites for people. I work as a virtual assistant for an entrepreneur in California. I've been working 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, since February, since you got diagnosed." I couldn't breathe. I'm making about $800 a month. I've saved $6,400 so far. It's in a savings account I opened online. I was going to give it to you when I hit 10,000. I was trying to help. I was trying to do something because I can't just sit here and watch you work yourself to death while you're literally dying." His voice broke. He put his head in his hands and sobbed. I stood there frozen as my entire world reframed itself. Not gaming, working. My 17-year-old son had been working 3 jobs for 8 months, while I'd been yelling at him for being addicted to video games. I don't remember walking over to him. I don't remember sitting down. I just remember pulling him into my arms while he cried. "I'm sorry," he was saying over and over. "I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I let you think I was gaming. I just didn't want you to feel guilty. I didn't want you to tell me to stop. I needed to do something. I needed to help." "Jate," I managed to say through my own tears. "Baby, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. You're my mom. You're sick, and we don't have money, and you're working yourself into the ground, and I can't just do nothing. I can't sit around playing actual video games while you're fighting cancer and worrying about money. I had to do something." "How?" I asked. "How did you even get 3 jobs?" "I signed up on freelancing websites, Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer. I taught myself graphic design from YouTube tutorials. I already knew some coding from computer class. The virtual assistant job was just answering emails and scheduling appointments. It wasn't that hard." 6 hours a day? Every day? Sometimes more. I had to build up my reputation on the sites first. Once I got good reviews, I started getting more work, better paying work. "And your grades?" He looked ashamed. "I know, I messed up. I was spending so much time working that I didn't have time for homework. I thought I could balance it, but I couldn't. I'm sorry." "And your friends?" "I had to stop hanging out with them. I didn't have time, and I couldn't tell them what I was really doing, because then they'd tell their parents, and their parents would tell you, and—" "You sacrificed everything," I whispered. "Your social life, your grades, your entire junior year." "I wanted to. You're more important." We sat there on his bedroom floor, both of us crying, while I tried to process what I'd just learned. My son had been working 3 jobs for 8 months, earning money to help pay my medical bills, sacrificing his social life, his grades, his entire teenage experience. And I'd thought he was addicted to video games. I'd yelled at him, accused him of throwing his life away, threatened to take away his computer, the tool he was using to try to save me. I'd been so wrong about everything. "Jake," I said finally, "you can't keep doing this." "Mom." "No, listen to me. I appreciate what you've been trying to do, more than you can possibly know. But you're 17 years old. You're supposed to be going to parties and playing soccer and worrying about prom dates, not working 6 hours a day to pay your mother's medical bills. But we need the money. We'll figure it out. We always do. But I'm not letting you destroy your senior year trying to save me." "You're not destroying your life to save me either," he said firmly. "That's non-negotiable." We looked at each other, both stubborn, both determined to sacrifice ourselves for the other. "We're quite a pair, aren't we?" I said finally. He laughed through his tears. "The most dysfunctional pair ever." Chapter 6. The Truth Comes Out. That night, Jake showed me everything. He walked me through his computer, showing me the freelancing websites, the jobs he'd completed, the reviews from satisfied clients, the money he'd earned. He had 3 profiles: J Designs, graphic design, Code with Jake, web development, and Jake Assists, virtual assistant work. All 3 had 5-star ratings. All 3 had dozens of completed projects. I looked at the designs he'd created: logos, business cards, social media graphics. They were good, really good, professional quality. Where did you learn to do this? I asked. YouTube, online tutorials. I just practiced until I got good at it. This is amazing work, Jake. Thanks. I clicked over to his earnings page. He hadn't been lying. Over the past 8 months, he'd earned $6,847, almost $7,000, from a 17-year-old working from his bedroom. I was trying to get to 10,000 before telling you, he explained. I thought if I had that much, it would make a real dent in the medical bills. I looked at my son, this young man who'd taught himself professional skills, built a freelance career, and earned almost $7,000, all while I'd been convinced he was wasting his life on video games. I am so sorry, I said. For what? For assuming the worst, for not trusting you, for not talking to you before jumping to conclusions. Mom, you didn't know. It's not your fault. It is my fault. I saw you in your room and I heard you talking and I just assumed video games. I didn't consider that there might be another explanation. I didn't give you the benefit of the doubt. To be fair, I was hiding it from you pretty intensely. Why didn't you just tell me from the beginning? He was quiet for a moment. Because I knew you'd tell me to stop. You'd feel guilty that I was working and you'd make me quit and go back to being a normal teenager. But I didn't want to be a normal teenager. I wanted to help. We talked for hours that night. Jake told me about how he'd started, how he'd spent the first month learning graphic design, watching 10 hours of tutorials, practicing on free projects until he got good enough to charge for his work. He told me about his first paid job, a logo design for a local bakery. He'd charged $15 and it took him 6 hours. But the client gave him a 5-star review, and that opened doors for more work. He told me about learning to balance 3 jobs, checking his Fiverr orders between classes at school, coding websites during lunch period, and answering virtual assistant emails at midnight after I'd gone to bed. He told me about the guilt he felt every time I worried about his grades or his social life, knowing he was lying about why he was struggling. The hardest part, he admitted, was watching you worry about me, watching you think I was depressed or addicted, but I couldn't tell you the truth because then you'd make me stop. Would that have been so terrible? Yes, Mom, you don't understand. I needed to do this. When you got diagnosed, I felt so helpless. I couldn't do anything to help you. I couldn't make the cancer go away. I couldn't afford your treatment. I couldn't even drive you to chemotherapy appointments because I'm only 17. I was useless. Jake, you're not. Let me finish. I felt useless. But then I realized I can't cure your cancer, but I can help pay for the treatment. I can do that. And suddenly I had a purpose. I had a way to fight back against this thing that was trying to take you away from me. His voice broke. It knows it sounds stupid. I know $7,000 isn't that much compared to what your treatment costs, but it was something. It was the only thing I could do, and it made me feel less helpless. I pulled him into a hug. It doesn't sound stupid, I told him. It sounds like the bravest thing I've ever heard. And $7,000 might not seem like much to you, but baby, it's everything to me. Not because of the money, but because of what it represents. Because you loved me enough to sacrifice your entire junior year. Because when things got hard, you didn't run away, you ran toward the problem. You're 17 years old, and you're already more of an adult than most people twice your age. He cried harder. I held him tighter. I'm so proud of you. I'm so, so proud of you. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. The next morning, I woke up to find Jake already at his computer. Jake, what are you doing? I have 3 orders due today. I need to finish them. Jake? Mom, these clients are counting on me. I can't just abandon the work. I sighed. This was going to be more complicated than I thought. Okay, new rule. You can keep working, but we're setting some boundaries. He looked up at me. Like what? Like, no more than 3 hours a day during the school year. Your education comes first. You're going to bring those grades back up. Mom, 3 hours won't be enough to maintain all three jobs. Then you pick one or two jobs and you do them well instead of trying to do everything. Quality over quantity. He frowned. But the money? Jake, we're going to be okay financially, I promise. How? We can barely pay rent. I sat down next to him. This was the conversation I'd been avoiding for months. I need to be honest with you about something. I haven't been completely truthful about our money situation. What do you mean? I mean, I've been hiding how bad things are because I didn't want you to worry. But you're already worrying. You've been working 3 jobs because you knew we were struggling. So I'm going to stop treating you like a child and start treating you like the partner you've been acting like. I pulled out my laptop and showed him our finances. Everything. The medical bills, the payment plans, my reduced work hours, our monthly income versus expenses. Jake's face went pale as he saw the numbers. We owe $42,000? We do. And you're only making $1,600 a month now? I am. Mom, that's not enough. That doesn't even cover rent and food and everything else. I know. So how are we surviving? I've been juggling bills, paying rent 1 month, electricity the next, skipping insurance payments, using credit cards for groceries. We're not surviving, we're drowning very slowly. Jake stared at the numbers. I could see his brain working, calculating, trying to figure out solutions. Okay, he said finally. So we need a plan. We do, and here's what I'm thinking. You're going to keep one job, the one you like best, the one that pays the most per hour. You're going to work a maximum of 3 hours a day during the school year and 5 hours a day during summer. That gives you time for homework, friends, and still brings in some money. That's only going to be like $400 a month, which is $400 more than we had before I knew you were working, and I'm going to figure out the rest. How? I'm going to talk to the hospital about their financial assistance programs. I'm going to apply for every grant and charity fund I can find. I'm going to ask my boss about picking up weekend shifts once I'm feeling better. I'm going to sell some stuff we don't need. We're going to figure this out together, as a team, not with you sacrificing everything while I pretend we're fine. Jake was quiet for a moment. I like the graphic design work best. It pays the most per hour and I actually enjoy it. Can I keep that one? You can keep that one, but you're quitting the coding and the virtual assistant jobs. But no buts. Those are the terms. Take it or leave it. He smiled slightly. You're kind of bossy when you want to be. I'm your mother. It's literally my job. That afternoon, Jake and I sat down together and drafted messages to his coding and virtual assistant clients. We explained that he was a high school student and he needed to reduce his workload to focus on his education. He offered to complete any outstanding projects but wouldn't be taking new work. Most of the clients were understanding. A few were disappointed but respectful. One virtual assistant client even wrote back, I had no idea you were in high school. You're incredibly professional. Good luck with your studies. You're going to be very successful. Jake kept his graphic design work. We set up a schedule. 3 hours after school on weekdays, 5 hours on Saturdays. Sundays were for homework and family time. No negotiation. What about my social life? Jake asked. Do I get that back? Absolutely. You're going to text Marcus right now and make plans for this weekend. Mom, I can't just suddenly start hanging out with everyone again. They're going to think it's weird. Then tell them the truth. Tell them you were working to help with my medical bills, and now you have more free time. Your real friends will understand. He looked uncertain, but he texted Marcus anyway. Marcus responded within 30 seconds. Dude, finally. Movie Friday night? Everyone's going. Jake looked at me. Can I? Yes, you can. Go be a teenager, please. Chapter 8. The Healing. Over the next few weeks, things slowly started to get better. Jake went back to his normal social life. He went to movies with Marcus and the guys. He started going to the gym. He even rejoined the soccer team for senior year. His graphic design work continued. He was getting better clients now, charging more money, working more efficiently. 3 hours a day was actually enough because he'd gotten so good at it. He was bringing in about $600 a month, and this time I let him keep half of it. You earned this money, I told him. You should have some of it for yourself, for college savings, for fun, for whatever you want. But the medical bills. I'm handling the medical bills. You focus on school and saving for your future. It took some convincing, but he eventually agreed. I, meanwhile, was working on the financial side. I applied for financial assistance through the hospital. It took hours of paperwork and 3 phone calls, but I was eventually approved for a 20% reduction in my outstanding bills. That brought my debt from $42,000 down to $33,600. Still a massive amount, but better. I applied for grants through cancer charities. Most of them required extensive documentation and had long waiting lists, but I got approved for one small grant, $2,500. It wasn't much, but it helped. I talked to my boss about picking up weekend shifts once I finished chemotherapy. She agreed. That would bring my hours back up to 35 per week and increase my monthly income. I sold some things we didn't need: old furniture, electronics, my wedding ring from Jake's father, long divorced, no emotional attachment. That brought in $1,200. Slowly, piece by piece, we were building a plan. My last chemotherapy session was in late August. Jake came with me. He'd asked to come to every session, but I'd always said no. You don't need to see that. It's depressing and terrible, and I don't want you to remember me like that. But for the last one, I let him come. We sat in the chemotherapy ward together, me in a recliner with an IV in my arm, Jake in a chair next to me doing graphic design work on his laptop. Is this okay, me working while you're getting treatment? It's perfect. I like having you here. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Around us, other cancer patients received their treatments. Some had family with them, some were alone. I watched Jake work. His concentration, his skill, the way his fingers flew across the keyboard and mouse. He was so talented, so driven, so much stronger than I'd ever given him credit for. Jake, I said after a while. Yeah? I need to apologize to you. For what? For underestimating you, for treating you like a child when you were being more of an adult than I was, for not seeing what you were capable of. Mom, stop. You're an amazing mother. You're fighting cancer and working and keeping us housed and fed, and you've never once made me feel like I was a burden. You've been carrying everything on your shoulders, and you never complained. If anything, I should have told you what I was doing sooner so you didn't have to carry it alone. We're both stubborn, both trying to protect each other, both refusing to ask for help. Sounds about right. No more secrets, I said. From now on, we're a team. We share the burden, we make decisions together. Deal? Deal. We shook hands. Jake smiled. You know, for a really serious moment, we're being kind of dorky. We contain multitudes. Chapter 9. The Revelation to Others. In September, Jake's senior year started. His grades from junior year were still a concern. The C's and the D wouldn't look good on college applications. His GPA had dropped from a 3.7 to a 3.2. We met with his guidance counselor, Mrs. Patterson, to discuss his options. Jake's junior year grades are concerning, Mrs. Patterson said, looking at his transcript. I know he's a capable student, his freshman and sophomore years were excellent, but colleges are going to see this drop and wonder what happened. I can explain what happened, Jake said. He told her everything. About my cancer, about the medical bills, about his 3 jobs, about sacrificing his grades to earn money to help. Mrs. Patterson's expression shifted from concern to something else. Respect, maybe even awe. Jake, she said slowly, that's incredibly mature and incredibly challenging, but I have to ask, where were the adults? Where was the support system? How did you end up working 3 jobs at 17 years old to pay your mother's medical bills? The question hung in the air, accusatory without meaning to be. "It's not like that," Jake said quickly. "My mom didn't ask me to work. She didn't even know. I did it on my own because I wanted to help. But the system failed you, both of you. Your mother shouldn't have been in a position where her 17-year-old son felt he needed to work 3 jobs. That's not okay." I felt defensive, ashamed. She wasn't wrong. "We're figuring it out," I said. "We've applied for financial assistance. We have a plan now." "I'm glad, but I want to help too." Mrs. Patterson turned to her computer. "Jake, I'm going to write a letter to the colleges you apply to. I'm going to explain your junior year circumstances. I'm going to tell them that your grades dropped not because you stopped caring, but because you were working 3 jobs to help your family during a medical crisis. That context matters." "Will colleges care?" Jake asked. "If they're worth attending, yes. They'll see a student who demonstrated maturity, responsibility, and sacrifice. Those are the qualities colleges want. They'll see that you didn't give up. You made hard choices to support your family." Jake looked like he might cry. "Thank you." "No, thank you. You've reminded me why I love this job. Students like you, students who face real challenges and still push forward, you're the reason I became a counselor." Word spread through the school, not because Jake or I told anyone, but because Marcus had apparently told his parents, who told other parents, who told their kids. By the end of the first week of school, everyone knew. Some of the reactions were supportive. Teachers went out of their way to check in with Jake, offer help, give him extensions on assignments if he needed them. Some of the reactions were pitying. Other students looked at him like he was some charity case. Some of the reactions were judgmental. I overheard another mother in the grocery store saying to her friend, "Can you believe that Crawford boy had to work 3 jobs? Where was his mother? What kind of parent lets their child do that?" It stung, because she wasn't wrong. What kind of parent was so wrapped up in her own survival that she missed her son working 6 hours a day for 8 months? Jake handled it better than I did. "Mom, ignore them. They don't know our situation. They don't know what it's like." "But they're right." "They're not right. You didn't let me do anything. I made a choice, my choice, and I'd make it again. You shouldn't have had to make that choice. But I did, and I'm glad I did, because I know now that I'm capable of way more than I thought. I know I can handle pressure. I know I can learn new skills. I know I can make money. That's all going to help me in college and beyond. You're very mature for 17. I learned from the best." Chapter 10. The College Applications. By October, Jake was in full college application mode. He was applying to 10 schools, a mix of reaches, matches, and safeties, all with good psychology programs. Jake had decided he wanted to study psychology and eventually become a therapist. "Because of everything we went through," he explained, "I want to help families communicate better. I want to help teenagers who are dealing with trauma. I want to be there for people the way Dr. Mitchell was there for us." Dr. Mitchell was the therapist I'd started seeing in July, after Jake's revelation made me realize how badly I'd been handling everything. She'd encouraged me to get Jake into therapy too. We were doing both individual sessions and occasional family therapy. It was helping. We were learning to talk to each other, learning to share our burdens instead of each carrying them alone. Jake's college essay was about his junior year. He wrote about learning graphic design from YouTube tutorials, about his first $5 job designing a logo, about the guilt of lying to me about what he was doing, about the moment I burst into his room accusing him of gaming addiction, about how sometimes love means sacrifice, but it also means communication. Mrs. Patterson read his essay and cried. "This is one of the best essays I've ever read from a high school student," she told him. "It's honest, vulnerable, and mature. Colleges are going to fight over you." I hoped she was right. In November, we got news from my oncologist. My latest scans were clear. No sign of cancer. I was officially in remission. The 5-year survival rate clock had started. I had to stay cancer-free for 5 years to be considered cured. But for now, I was cancer-free. Jake and I celebrated with takeout Chinese food and fortune cookies. His fortune said, "Your hard work will pay off in unexpected ways." Mine said, "The greatest treasures are found in family." We laughed at the corniness, but we also both cried a little. December brought college acceptance letters. Jake got into his safety schools first, then his match schools. Then, in mid-December, he got a thick envelope from his reach school, the university where he most wanted to go. He opened it with shaking hands. "Dear Jake, congratulations. We are pleased to offer you admission to—" He'd gotten in. And there was more. "Based on your family's financial situation and your demonstrated need, we are pleased to offer you a full financial aid package, including grants, scholarships, and work study that will cover tuition, room, board, and books for all 4 years. A full ride. Jake wouldn't have to pay for college, wouldn't have to take out loans, wouldn't have to work 3 jobs to afford his education." We both cried. Happy tears this time. Chapter 11. The Full Circle. By the time graduation rolled around in May, Jake had earned his GPA back up to a 3.5. He'd worked hard senior year, straight A's both semesters. He'd also continued his graphic design work, building up a portfolio and a client base. "I'm going to keep doing this in college," he told me. "Not 3 jobs, not 6 hours a day, but I like graphic design, I'm good at it, and it's a good way to make money while studying. Just make sure you also make time for fun, for friends, for being a college kid." "I will, I promise." Graduation day was beautiful. Jake walked across the stage in his cap and gown, collecting his diploma, and I cheered louder than any other parent there. After the ceremony, Marcus's family hosted a joint graduation party for Marcus and Jake at their house. Dozens of people showed up. Jake's friends, teachers, people from our community. Mrs. Patterson pulled me aside during the party. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Jake's essay about working 3 jobs to help with your medical bills, that essay was submitted to a national scholarship competition by one of his teachers. He won." "He what?" "He won $50,000 for college." I couldn't speak. The scholarship organization wanted to keep it a surprise until today. They're going to announce it at the party. I just wanted you to know first. 20 minutes later, a representative from the Scholarship Foundation asked for everyone's attention. "We're here today to honor one of this year's scholarship recipients. Jake Crawford was selected from over 10,000 applicants for demonstrating exceptional character, maturity, and dedication to family." Jake's face went red as everyone turned to look at him. Jake's essay told the story of how he taught himself professional skills and worked 3 jobs for 8 months to help pay for his mother's cancer treatment. He did this while maintaining passing grades, while supporting his family, while sacrificing his own teenage experience. His story moved our judging panel to tears. The representative handed Jake an oversized check for $50,000. This scholarship is to help ensure that Jake can pursue his dream of becoming a therapist without the financial burden that he's already carried on his young shoulders. Congratulations, Jake. The crowd erupted in applause. Jake looked at me across the yard. I was crying, he was crying. He mouthed, "We did it." I mouthed back, "You did it." Chapter 12. The Reflection. That night, after the party ended and all the guests had left, Jake and I sat on our apartment balcony looking at the stars. $50,000, Jake said, still in shock. Plus the full ride. "Mom, I'm going to college for free. Actually, better than free. I'll have money left over." "You earned it. We earned it. You fought cancer. I fought to keep us afloat. We were a team. The dysfunctional team. The best dysfunctional team ever." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. "Mom," Jake said eventually, "can I ask you something?" "Anything." Do you regret it? How hard this year was? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't regret it. I regret the cancer. I regret the financial stress. I regret not seeing what you were doing sooner. But I don't regret this year, because this year taught us both things we needed to learn. Like what? Like how strong we are, like how much we're willing to sacrifice for each other, like how important it is to communicate instead of assume, like how to ask for help instead of suffering alone. I looked at my son, this young man who'd grown up so much in the past year. Jake, you taught me that I raised a good man, a kind man, a capable man, and that's the greatest gift a mother can receive. Even if I did lie to you for 8 months about what I was doing? Even then, because you lied for the right reasons. You were trying to protect me, just like I was trying to protect you. We're not great at accepting help, are we? No, we're really not. But we're learning. Jake went inside to bed, but I stayed out on the balcony a while longer. I thought about everything that had happened since that February morning when I found the lump. The diagnosis, the terror, the chemotherapy, the financial nightmare, watching my son isolate himself, the horrible months of thinking he was addicted to video games, the guilt, the fear, and then the discovery, the revelation, the tears and the conversations and the healing, the realization that my son was so much more than I'd given him credit for. I pulled out my phone and opened my bank account. Between my work, Jake's contributions, the hospital financial assistance, the grants, and some additional help from cancer charities, we'd managed to pay off $28,000 of our medical debt. We still owed about $15,000, but we had a payment plan, and more importantly, we had each other. My cancer was in remission. Jake was going to college on a full scholarship plus $50,000. We were both healthier, physically and emotionally, than we'd been in over a year. We'd survived. Epilogue. 1 year later. I'm writing this from Jake's college dorm room where I've just helped him move in for his sophomore year. His freshman year was everything a college experience should be. He made friends, he joined clubs, he studied psychology and loved it. He continued doing graphic design work on the side, not because he had to, but because he enjoyed it. He called me every Sunday for our weekly check-in. Scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? I'd ask. 8, he'd usually say, sometimes 9. Once or twice, 7. Never below 7. How about you, Mom? How are you? 8, I'd say, and I meant it. I'm now working full-time again. My cancer is still in remission. I go for scans every 3 months and hold my breath each time. But so far, clear. We've paid off all but $3,000 of the medical debt. We're going to have it completely cleared by the end of this year. I've started dating someone, a nice man named Robert, who I met at a cancer survivors support group. It's early, but it's nice. Jake likes him. Mom deserves to be happy, Jake told Robert on their first meeting. Hurt her, and you'll answer to me. Robert laughed. That's fair. Jake's graphic design business has grown. He now has a website, a brand, and regular clients. He makes about $1,500 a month, working 10 hours a week. I don't need this money anymore, he told me last month, so I'm starting a scholarship fund for teenagers who have to work to help their families. I want to help kids like me, kids who are trying to do too much because they don't know how else to help. The Jake Crawford Scholarship Fund launched last week. He seeded it with $10,000 from his savings. I've never been more proud. Last week, I got a call from a local news station. They'd heard Jake's story and wanted to do a segment on him. We want to tell the story of how a 17-year-old worked 3 jobs to help his mother during her cancer treatment, the producer explained. It's inspiring. It's the kind of story that needs to be told. I asked Jake if he wanted to do it. Only if you're okay with it, he said. It's your story too. It's our story, and if it helps even one family communicate better, then yes, let's do it. The interview aired yesterday. The segment was titled, "The Gamer Who Wasn't: How One Teen's Secret Sacrifice Saved His Family." They interviewed both of us, showed Jake's graphic designs, talked about my cancer journey, discussed the importance of communication between parents and teenagers. The end of the segment was Jake saying, "If there's one thing I want parents to take from this story, it's this. Don't assume you know what your teenager is doing. Talk to them. Really talk to them. They might surprise you. And if there's one thing I want teenagers to take from this, it's talk to your parents. They want to help. They need you to let them in. Don't suffer alone." The segment went viral. Over 1 million views in 24 hours. Hundreds of comments from parents. "This made me cry. I need to talk to my son. I just apologized to my daughter for assuming she was wasting time when she was actually studying. This is a wake-up call for all parents." And from teenagers, "I've been working 2 jobs to help my family and I haven't told my mom. This inspired me to tell her. I'm going to talk to my parents about what I'm really dealing with instead of hiding it." Messages started pouring in to Jake's scholarship fund, donations from strangers who'd seen the story and wanted to help. Within a week, the fund had grown to $50,000. "This is insane," Jake said, staring at the number. "We can help so many kids." Yesterday, he doesn't live here anymore, so I'm turning it into a home office, and I found something tucked into his desk drawer. A journal entry dated March of last year, right after he'd started his freelance work. "Dear future me, I'm writing this in case I forget why I'm doing this, in case it gets too hard and I want to give up. Mom has cancer. She's trying to work and fight the cancer at the same time, and it's killing her. We don't have money for her treatment. I can see her staying up late doing math on paper trying to figure out how to pay the bills. I feel helpless. I'm 17 years old and there's nothing I can do to help. I can't drive her to appointments. I can't make her feel better. I can't cure her cancer. But I can earn money. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work. I'm going to learn graphic design and coding and whatever else I need to learn. I'm going to make as much money as I can. I'm going to save her, or at least I'm going to help save her. Future me, if you're reading this and you're tired and you want to quit, don't. Mom needs you. Keep going. Love, past Jake." I sat on his bedroom floor with that journal entry in my hands and cried. My boy, my beautiful, stubborn, selfless boy. He'd saved me in ways he'd never fully understand. Final thoughts. If you're a parent watching this, I need you to hear something. Your kids are carrying more than you know. They're dealing with stresses and pressures and responsibilities that they're hiding from you because they don't want you to worry. Talk to them. Really talk to them. Not at them, not lecturing them, but genuine, open conversations where you listen more than you speak. Don't assume you know what they're doing. Don't jump to conclusions. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Your teenager gaming for 6 hours a day might actually be working 3 jobs. Your teenager who's withdrawn and quiet might be processing something heavy they don't know how to share. Your teenager whose grades are slipping might be sacrificing their GPA to help your family survive. Ask, listen, be present, be open to being wrong. And if you're a teenager watching this, I need you to hear something too. You don't have to carry everything alone. You don't have to sacrifice your childhood to save your parents. You don't have to hide your struggles because you're afraid of being a burden. Your parents love you. They want to help. They need you to let them in. Talk to them. Tell them what's really going on. Give them a chance to support you. You might be surprised by how much they understand. Jake is 20 now. I'm 47. We're both healthier, happier, and stronger than we were 2 years ago. We still have our Sunday phone calls, still do our 1 to 10 scaled check-ins, still share our burdens instead of carrying them alone. We learned the hard way that love isn't about protecting each other from reality, it's about facing reality together. And we learned that sometimes the thing that looks like a problem, a gaming addiction, a diagnosis, a mountain of medical debt, is actually an opportunity. An opportunity to discover how strong you are, how much you're willing to sacrifice, how much you're capable of when everything is on the line. Jake taught me that, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the love he showed me when he worked 3 jobs at 17 years old to save my life.